Hello, sisters. Welcome to the Sacred Medicine Podcast, weaving powerful, soulful practices into functional medicine. Step into this beautiful space of devotion and explore everything from nurturing foods, rituals, sexuality, and awakening your innate sensuality. It is time to own your radiance. This is the Sacred Medicine Podcast. Hello and welcome back to another week of the Sacred Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Margaret Romero, and this week I have such a fun interview with Jackie Nourse. She is the founder and host of The Budget-Minded Traveler, an award-winning blog, podcast, and community designed to encourage and equip Americans to travel overseas. She also hosts adventure trips and retreats for her audience. She leads mentorship programs for women, and she blogs all about adventure travel and lifestyle at Traveling Jackie. So I wanted to have her on the show because so many times I have definitely said this myself. There isn't enough time. There's enough money to travel. I just, my job, I don't have enough vacation time or whatever excuse. I mean, I have definitely said all of them, even though travel for me is like the best thing. Like my soul needs it. Like I need to be out in the wilderness. Like that's what calls me. And I need to be able to plan trips way in advance in order to make time for them, as well as making sure that they're in my budget as well. So we talk about how to begin. Like if you really want to go to, let's just say Tahiti or Mexico or, Europe or a place, any beautiful destination that you've kind of been dreaming about and you're just not sure how to do it affordably, well, we talk all about that. So we look at where to really start and how to actually kind of plan it, how to put money aside. We talk about all of that. And then we also talk about how to save money in the booking process and accommodations. This is such a cool interview, you guys. And, what about when you travel alone? Like I've definitely traveled alone because, sometimes it's hard to coordinate with girlfriends or partners who has off, who can't afford it either, or who doesn't want to go there, but you really want to go there and you don't know anyone else that wants to go there. So we talk about traveling alone. Trust me, I've done it. I love it. You meet so many cool people. Like it's not lonely. It's like really exciting. At least for me it is. So we talk about that. And then we talk about what airlines are actually ones you want to look into that have like buddy passes, like bring your friend for free. So we talk, this is such a great episode. I love it. And then we get a little bit into some of the traveling, her tours that she provides to her audience and all about her background, like how she has sort of a nomadic lifestyle and she just lives overseas. It's really cool and amazing how she can do this. Really, I almost want to do this for a little while at some point in my life when I'm not really sure. And she also has this really cool course called the Budget-Minded Traveler Blueprint. And this is really cool because if you are sort of like, I don't know where to start, I don't know anything about traveling, or I'm scared about this or that, or if you want to know about vaccines and what to do about all of these things if you want to travel internationally, this course sounds amazing. And I took a peek at it, you guys, and it is so comprehensive. It's like amazing. So it teaches you how to spend less on tickets on the, for travel for the plane, how to go anywhere that's on your bucket list, how to pack less but be more prepared, how to use your smartphone abroad to make free calls, texts, and posting on Facebook, let's say, how to be safe when you travel and also healthy when you travel overseas, and just so much more. Seriously, it's like the best course blueprint ever. So listen more about that, as well as I'll be having a little bit more of that in the show notes at the end of the conversation. So on to the show. I hope you love it, enjoy it, and then let's just plan your next trip. Today, I have a guest that is going to be talking about a topic that I have not spoken about yet, and that is Jackie Nourse. Thank you so much, Jackie, for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. So we're going to be talking about travel, and we have not talked about this topic. It's one of my favorite things in the whole wide world, to travel. It is why I work so hard, so then I get to travel. But I wanted to talk to you about several different things. And why don't we start with, maybe we'll start with a couple of things on, a budget-minded person would really want to, maybe have some tips on how to travel without thinking that it's going to be like thousands and thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've asked the right person. I started the budgetmindedtraveler.com basically to alleviate that question and to basically prove, that if you want to travel, you can make it happen, and it doesn't really matter what your income is, or even what your budget is, because it's all about priorities. And so my biggest thing is that I really, really want to push and share is that it starts at home. And I like to encourage people to just look at the way that you're living and look at what your priorities are, and then look at what you're really spending your money on. And so, for example, what I mean by that, and this is super actionable, but I encourage people to literally make a list of the things that you would like to save your money for. What are these things? I mean, is it important to you to buy a house? Is it important to you to buy a car? Or do you really want to take a big trip? Or do you need to pay off your student loans? For example, like what is it that you're putting your that you would like to save for? And then make another list of what you're actually spending your money on. And if you find that, Starbucks is way at the top, or shows that maybe aren't as important to you as taking that big trip, look at this list of what you actually spend your money on and compare it with the things that you just told yourself are really important to you, and see where you might be able to make some changes in your actual spending, because it can happen a lot sooner than you think if you just make travel a priority. Really, that's what it comes down to. We can talk about tips that will save you money while you're on the road as well, but saving for travel, this is the most important thing, is just making it a priority. Even if you have a minimum wage job, what is it that you're spending your money on, and where can you cut back on some of those things to push travel higher up on your savings and doing list?
Yeah. Travel is so important to me that I have an account set up that automatically I have funds that go into there every I think it's every other week now. And I don't touch that. I don't touch that fund. And I don't have like a tremendous amount that goes into there every 2 weeks, but it goes in there steady. Mm-hmm. It's automatic. And, you'd be amazed how much you can save by having something set aside. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Is there any other tips for people to kind of, when they start saying, well, I can't afford it or I can't do it, in terms of they set up an account? What's the best way to kind of save up for a trip, or if you want a European trip or something?
Right. I think it's going to depend on the way that, for example, this is what I mean. It's going to depend on the way that you are. And what I mean by that is I don't have something like what you do. The account that you set up and put money away, that works for a lot of people. It's not what everyone needs to do. And so you kind of need to know yourself. That's I would say that's like an inactive way, an indirect way, a passive way of saving for travel.
Yeah.
And putting something in the forefront of your mind, putting something at the top of your priorities list, that's going to be an active way of saving for travel. It's going to change your mindset, and so you're going to, even just being aware of perspective is going to help you save. For example, you can go out tonight and spend $50 on dinner, or you could save that $50 and maybe get 2 nights of accommodations on a trip to France or something. That's going to be like in a hostel, but still, if you change your perspective, you can buy a new couch for $1,000, or you could buy a plane ticket. And so what is the value of the things that you're spending your money on? And try to get it as active as you can, I would say, in your mind, however you can do that. If you need to start an account and put money away because you don't trust yourself with your money or your savings or whatever it is, then do that. Be active, do something. Or if you can just kind of change your mindset about things, change your perspective, do you really need that new pair of boots, or could you put that money towards a plane ticket?
Right.
How quickly can you save that money, and to make it actually happen. And then the other thing that goes hand in hand with that, obviously, is learning how to save money on the actual booking process. And so, there's tons of things you can do for, and maybe I can give you some links that you can share with everybody. Because I have an entire podcast as well about all of these things and a website. And so I can give you some tips on, saving money on flights and then accommodations and all these things. But just realizing that, it's, have you even done research? Think of a place you want to go and look it up, look and see how much it would cost to go to this place, and look at plane tickets, and don't look at Saturday to Saturday. Look at a Tuesday in the middle of, May or September, something that might be not completely in season, high season, and see just how affordable the ticket might be. And that's not even with doing anything. That's just just getting online and looking at it. Have you even done that?
Right.
It's not healthy to have a mindset of, oh, travel is so expensive if you don't even know what you're talking about. So I think maybe the first step is, think about perspective and priorities first of all, but then think about an actual destination and just start looking into it and see what the reality of the cost is going to be. Because these are the things that are going to be actionable. As soon as you start turning towards travel and making yourself aware of it, on the inside, that's when things are going to start to change for you. And it's going to just move up that priorities list for you because you keep exposing yourself to it.
Okay. So what are some of the things that we can start doing, I guess? Well, why don't we go into actually a couple of tips on booking process to see, this is an inexpensive way. Is it points? Is it, obviously it's not booking something on a weekend or a Friday or Saturday, right? Is that one of the first easiest things to do?
And I don't use a lot of points, and I don't talk about points. That's not really my thing. Travel hacking, there's a ton of other people who talk about that. So if you're into using points and all of that, that's great. But I think that's really intimidating to a lot of people because they don't already collect points, or they don't fly a lot, and they don't have a lot of miles. And so what are you supposed to do if you just don't have points? And I'm actually one of those people because I don't do a lot with points. I actually have earned several just from flying, and I've used those points, but I don't do the travel hacking stuff. And so more to speak to, I guess, the average person who maybe doesn't have a clue about what to do with points,
Right.
There are just other things you can do. So for example, if you're looking at flights, if you want to find the best deal on flights, you got to put in your time. You got to put in the time. You have to put in the research. Don't expect to just show up one day and, find the best deal right away and buy it. That's just not how it works. If you want to know what a good deal looks like, you got to do at least a little bit of research, because if you get online and look right now, a trip from Denver to, say, Paris or whatever, I don't know why that's on my mind. Maybe you mentioned France earlier in this, but yeah, say you're just looking up Denver to Paris. What does it say right now for some time later on? you need to know what your calendar is also.
Right.
But then that's only your first idea of how much this costs. Look again next week and pick a different day, and then look again the week later and pick a different day and just get an idea of how it's fluctuating. That's the first step, because rarely are you going to go on and buy a ticket one time. You should watch it. And so get an idea of what it even looks like to begin with, realistically. And then maybe as you do your research, you'll see how it goes up and down, and you'll have a better idea of, oh, I think this is a good deal, because it'll keep going down or it'll go up or whatever. And so then you'll at least know the reality of the numbers.
Got it. Okay.
But there's all sorts of rules for booking flights as well. Like, don't book on a Saturday, because the airlines actually, they put out deals on like Mondays, and by then the other airlines are kind of trying to compete against each other, and so all of the prices will kind of be at a weekly low on like Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and then for the weekend they'll start going back up. Because think about this, most people who work 9-to-5 jobs, when are they going to have time to research flights?
That's true.
On weekends, right? That's
right.
when everybody has their free time. And so most people are going to be doing travel booking on those days. So literally the day of the week that you look is going to make a difference. So that's why booking on a Tuesday is a thing. It's a real thing. And then even the days of the week that you fly, that's going to make a big difference as well. If you're going to fly at Christmas, don't expect to find a good deal.
Yeah.
Unless maybe you're flying Christmas morning, the day that nobody wants to fly. But if you're, looking at peak season, you're going to get expensive prices. So does your calendar have the flexibility to travel in the off season? I mean, these are things that you can think about. And if it really is important to you to get the best deal possible, then you're going to need to do all the things and combine all of them. Google Flights is a really good place to start too. So,
okay.
Do you know about Google Flights?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the best one. It's my go-to. It's really great, and it can help you get creative with airports and dates, with all their cool functions for maps and calendars, and so that's definitely a good place to start. And then I'll give you the link to my my in-depth post that has all the flight tips for this, if you want to share that.
Because, I would definitely love that. Yeah.
I mean, this is a whole conversation in itself.
True. Now, is it true that I have found, let's say I'm checking for flights to, let's just say, Miami from New York, and I'm checking throughout the week, and it seems like the price keeps going up and up and up, and I'm like, what the hell? Is there is there like cookies or is it somehow
tricking you?
Yes.
Like, does it remember you?
Yes.
I wouldn't worry about that. No. I mean, some people give the incognito window argument, but I am not convinced that it's real. Like, in a window on your browser, you can open like an incognito window, so it's not supposed to remember you. I don't know if that works. You can try it. You have nothing to lose, but Google Flights has the ability to track flights for you. So if it goes up or down, it'll email you. And all you have to do is click a little, when you're in Google Flights, because everybody has a Google account by now. And so if you're in Google Flights looking for something and you want to keep an eye on this and you don't want to keep coming back to it every day, there's literally just a little like switch you can click, and it'll turn on email notifications. And so you can see it go up and down, and it doesn't really have to do with you visiting the website or not.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know if that's a real thing or not, to be honest.
Okay. Good to know. All right. So these are some good tips on when to travel, when to book. And what else? What else is there? What about traveling alone? I think that stops a lot of people. Like you don't know enough another friend who can either afford it or take the time off. And as women, I think that sometimes we get a little intimidated. Oh, I don't want to go alone. I'm not, maybe it's not safe to go alone. Personally, I've traveled alone and I don't mind it whatsoever. What are your thoughts on that?
That completely depends on you. And I'm going to go back to the priorities thing. Are you going to wait to take the trip that you really want to take just because nobody else wants to go with you?
Right.
If you really don't want to go alone, then that's your decision to say no to this and to wait on someone else.
Yeah.
But if you want to, step up and say yes to yourself and say yes, even though no one else wants to go, go. And go alone anyway. You don't need someone there. I would argue that you learn way more as a solo traveler.
Yeah.
Than you do having a travel buddy. I mean, just having someone next to you to help you make decisions, and I mean, it can be really nice, but at the same time, you have the potential to expand and grow as a person incredibly fast as a solo traveler. And I mean, I think travel is a tool for personal growth anyway, but it's expedited when you're alone. And so if that's something that you're interested in, take the challenge of traveling alone. Yeah. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. There's so much freedom in being alone on the road and getting to do whatever you want at any time of day and kind of disappearing and just getting to be whoever you want to be. It's just an incredibly liberating experience, and you'll have the highest highs and the lowest lows, and it's all worth it. And so don't be afraid to travel alone, really.
And also just people that you meet. I mean, you can go into a restaurant or sit at the bar, and the people you'll meet are just, it's amazing. You don't really ever feel alone. I mean, I never have, because I'm always talking to somebody or connecting with whoever's sitting next to me. So I found it to be really liberating.
I think it's ultimately a choice too, because if you choose to be alone, you can be. If you don't want to be alone, you don't need to be, because you can stay in hostels anywhere. And I love hostels because of the community aspect. I don't love hostel dorms. I don't sleep in dorms anymore if I can help it. But hostels are a wonderful place to meet other travelers, and you don't have to stay at the party hostel in town. Yeah. Most hostels have communal rooms. They'll help you out with tours. Like, there's people around, and you can, I mean, basically, especially if you're traveling on the beaten path, which I think most people and most solo travelers will start there, because it's less intimidating. But if you're traveling anywhere where there's other travelers, especially, it's easy to make friends. Otherwise, like you said, you can go down to a local cafe or whatever and start talking, talk to the bartender, talk to your server, go to markets and make friends with the artisans. You can talk to anyone you want to. This is always your choice, whether you want to be alone or not. It's always a choice. So if you're feeling introverted one day, maybe you don't want to make friends, that's up to you.
Right.
But if you're feeling lonely, it really is, even though it can be a struggle and it can be a really big challenge, especially for people who, it's harder to talk or make friends, especially with a language barrier. I'm going to go back to saying it is still a choice. It's still always a choice, whether you want to be alone or not.
That's true.
And so you can make friends no matter where you are.
So let's also talk about, I'm hearing this, I hear this from friends, I hear this from just people in general, and whether or not they're saving or think that they don't have enough money, they're just really not even looking anything up. Like, they've always wanted to go to Paris or Fiji, but finding out, I think you're right, what you said, like, find out how much flights are, find out like what the accommodations are. So at least, and best times to travel, maybe just kind of have a little bit of a plan. So, like, okay, by this date, I should have this much saved, or, okay, this is how much the flights are going to be, and being proactive with that. But I think there are a lot of people who are just like, without even doing any of the research, they're already thinking like, no, I just don't have the time or the money, or nobody to go with, and they're not traveling at all. They're not seeing the world. They're not, doing anything. They're just home and they're working all the time. Do you see a lot of women or men who are finally, because I know that you also do some traveling, some retreats, or tours. You do some tours as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I want to know more about that. But I think that there are a lot of people who just stop themselves from exploring and traveling. And so what are your thoughts around that? I mean, I feel like they're not really fully living personally.
You know what? I would agree. I mean, we have to give to each their own, but I actually think that you just nailed it when you said they are limiting themselves on that. And with all due respect, I know that travel's not for everybody.
Yeah.
But for anyone who has even the slightest interest in travel, I like to really encourage them to understand that it's up to them. It's up to them. It's their choice. And so if they're the ones saying, I don't have time, my work won't let me go, then to me, they just don't want to do it, actually. They don't actually want to do it bad enough to make it happen.
Right.
So if you're listening to this and maybe you've been one of those people that thinks, you don't have the money or you don't have the time, your job won't let you off work, I would challenge you to just reflect on that for a minute and think, is this me putting a limit on myself or is this true? Because have you ever asked your boss for the time off? Do you even know if you could get those 2 or 3 weeks? I mean, not every trip has to be a paid time off. If the trip that you want to do is a month long and you don't think your job, will let you go, could you consider just taking unpaid time off and come back afterwards? I mean, you have the right to ask for whatever you want, and if your boss comes back and says, sorry, that's not going to happen, then you have the option, then you have the decision at that point to say, okay, is this job really worth it to me if this person doesn't even want me to go live my life? Or,
right.
Or is it something that, well, maybe you can change it and just go for 1 week or whatever it is that you can get. I mean, you could go explore your own backyard for a weekend and do something different that you haven't done just to test and see how it feels. Mm-hmm. Is this something that you want to keep doing and take to the next step and the next step and go bigger? And then finally, take that trip abroad that you've been wanting to do. I mean, there are baby steps, and it also matters where you are on your path. Because someone could be listening to this right now and it won't hit them. And they'll come back in 6 months and say, oh my gosh, this is me now. Like, I get it now, but they weren't ready to hear it at a certain point in their life. And we have to respect that too. And so really in the end, it totally is up to each and every person as an individual of what you want to do with your life. It's not up to your boss. It's not up to your bank account. Like, you can make it happen. It's just that you have to realize that. So that's sort of where I've come in on both sides, being, the cheering coach, saying, this is what you have to understand, but at the same time saying, oh, okay, once you get to that point and you realize that it is up to you, and this is just an invitation for you to say yes, here are some tools that you can use to make it happen. And that's where all the practical help comes in, which is what, the Budget Minded Traveler platform was really built on, the podcast and the blog and all of that. But really, I'm about the personal development, and recognizing that, yeah, you can do it if you want to. Who is saying that you can't? Really? You can make it happen if it's something you want, bad.
Right. Exactly. And I think that...
I know I tend to speak boldly.
I think it definitely stops people in their tracks when they have dreams of going to certain places, and then just years pass, where they're just giving their life and their soul to their job or their boss or what have you,
and they wake up too late.
Yeah. And I understand that there are commitments, and maybe you have a family and that you just can't leave, or how can you afford if you had, I don't know, I don't have children, so I don't know what it's like or how much it costs to travel with kids. But I think people make a lot of they already will say, well, no, I just can't do that, without really looking and investigating, researching, like, well, how much is it really going to cost?
Exactly. Even your biggest obstacles, which for a lot of people is a family. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Just having kids does make it complicated, but I have met people who, there's a specific couple that I've now met in person. I've interviewed them a couple times on my podcast. They have 3 kids, and they they were those people saying, oh, we couldn't do it. Like they dreamed about it, but they couldn't really make it happen until one day they said, well, what if we did? Like, what would that actually look like? And I mean, they spent a year on the road with their 3 kids who were,
Wow.
I think, 8, 11, and 16, 17 at the time. And so, yeah, they made it happen because it's something that they wanted so badly that, they put the effort in. They put the energy into doing it. And they're the only ones that could have changed their own story, And so it's super inspiring. We can link to those if you want.
Definitely. Some
there
of
are
those too.
regular people out there that are just like you, just like me. It's just that they're making it happen, and that's the choice. It is available. It really is available. So I would encourage you guys to at least, look something up. Look into anything. Start researching if you have an idea. Where do you want to go? Just look it up and see what happens. Just see what happens.
Is there any a tip for maybe families right now that are listening, or a mom or a dad who's listening right now and they're like, yeah, right. That trip to Hawaii is $1,000 a person, not including, the, accommodations and food. And is there anything that off the top of your head that you're like, okay, try this and see if you can get low prices on airfare or something like that when you're traveling with kids?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things come to mind, including well, you just said Hawaii specifically. And I know that, for example, Alaska Airways flies to Hawaii, and they have a really great credit card that you can include buddy pass. You get like a buddy pass every year. And so a friend of mine, she and her husband both have the cards, and they each include a buddy pass. And so their 2 kids are going to get to fly for free. Or I think it's not, I shouldn't say free. I think it's like $100. And then they can find their own tickets. And that brings down the price a lot for a family vacation. But that's also Hawaii. Hawaii is really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps you could look at going somewhere else, I mean, that's tropical and warm. I mean, like look at Panama, look at Costa Rica, look at a different destination that if you really want beach, there are definitely great, safe places, much more affordable than Hawaii where you can go.
Right.
And if Hawaii really is the end goal, then you'll figure out a way to make it happen. Look at Airbnbs and VRBOs, something that is just going to make more sense for your budget. You can definitely make it happen.
Yeah, I love
Or
Airbnbs.
even there are, sorry, I was just going to say, don't count out the, what's the Groupon? Like there are also trips that'll come up that are just like amazing deals for 5 nights, including airfare or something. I mean, what would it cost to add a couple of kids to that?
Right.
So don't count out those. If Hawaii really is your dream destination, there's some way that you can make it happen.
What do you think about cruises and whatnot? Those sometimes can be really inexpensive.
I cannot speak to it. I've never been on a cruise.
Okay.
I haven't done it.
Me either. But
yeah. I don't know. Maybe for a family it would be really great because you have like a moving playground with you, just I am not sure about that.
Yeah. I mean, because I had a colleague that he had 2 kids and he always went on cruises and they seemed to be really, really inexpensive. And he lives in New York. And so there's ones that leave right out of New York City. And you don't have to pay for flights to go anywhere. You just get on board, take a cab from home or wherever,
right,
or a train, Metro North, into the city, the luggage, get on the boat, be out for a week, come back. So anyway, I just wanted to see what you thought about that. But well, how can tell us a little bit about your trips and what those look like and feel like?
My trips, I actually started creating for my audience. It's just always really, I mean, you can probably tell how passionate I am about this from listening to me talk about it. But I'm really, really passionate about the personal development side of what travel can do to a person. I mean, it's completely changed my life. And it's one thing for me to, go on blogging and podcasting and talk about it and how great it is and blah, 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 or I can say, hey, look, it's your turn. And if you want to experience this, you can. And I mean, this is the reason I started everything in the first place, um, is is to ultimately get someone out of their comfort zone so that they learn about their best selves. That's really, really it. You see the world, but you see yourself. And that's the greatest part about travel. And you see other people and you see how you can make a difference. And, these are the things that are really important. And so I started guiding, or not guiding, but hosting my own trips and offering them to my audience because I really want to meet these people. And I want to say, hey, I mean, here I've given you all the tools that you need to make travel happen on your own. Now I'm going to extend a hand and say, do you want to come do this with me? Like, let's go experience it together. And it has been incredible. I mean, I just finished my second one last week. And I'm down in Patagonia in Argentina right now. And I have led 2 different 10-day trips through Patagonia. And I mean, Patagonia is an amazing place in itself because it's just magical. I mean, I can only do so much of the planning and getting everybody together. And then, once the trip starts, I am not in control of the magic that happens.
Right.
That's the destination. That's how open the person is to being in that place at that time with that group of people. And it has just been very humbling and very rewarding and amazing to see it happen through something that I've created for people, for my own audience, which is just, it's really, really special.
Oh,
and so I'm going to continue going forward with that. But that, that's me. That's where I live in this travel industry. And I live to see people changed through travel. It's just the coolest. And that's why I can be bold and sound like maybe I'm cracking the whip sometimes because I know what waits for you,
Exactly.
I know the potential that's out there and you have to go explore what's waiting for you because it's unique to you. I mean, you're not going to have the same experience in Patagonia that I am, even if I'm the one taking you on that hike and to that brewery and to that steakhouse. I mean, we can be in the same place, but because of where you are on your own path in life, it's going to affect you differently. It'll produce different results for you from the person next to you. And that is just the beauty of it all. So that's what really keeps me going.
And where do you live? Anywhere in particular, or do you just travel all the time?
I love how you asked that. I have a storage unit in the U.S. in Montana, but I am just with my backpack, and it's been 2.5 years that I've been nomadic. I really have been traveling for the past 15 years. I started with study abroad, so I'm used to long-term travel, and that's always been the kind of style that I've done. And so now, I know I tried staying in the States and having a home and doing all the things.
Right.
It just didn't work for me. And so here I am on the road. And, as long as I still feel called to continue what I'm doing, then this is where I'll stay. So currently I'm in Patagonia in Argentina. But I mean, that'll change. I'm not anywhere solid for more than, anywhere from a night to a couple months at a time. So
what's your next stop? Your next stop?
I'm going to be in Patagonia for the next couple months still.
Okay.
But I'm leading a retreat in February in Ecuador, and so I will be heading up to Ecuador to do that, and that's my first women's adventure retreat. I'm going to see how that goes, and I'll probably be heading to Europe after that, and so we'll see. It's always a fun thing to see where it changes and how the plans change, because it changes a lot, I guess. I'm all over the place.
Yeah, but so cool. I mean, your life has been filled with so much adventure and new experiences, hands down, compared to those of us who work these, hours of doing all kinds of things, our jobs. That's incredible. It's amazing to me to read about people who can travel with their kids. There's families that I follow on Instagram, and I just watch how their children learn so much more being on the road and being in all these different beautiful countries and being exposed to different cultures. Like, it just is amazing to me. So I totally commend you for totally stepping into that and showing other people how to do it as well.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, because I mean, it's not an easy life. It's not rainbows and butterflies, but it's worth it. And I do feel like it's my responsibility to share it, and to encourage other people to experience what travel has to offer. And so that's what I'm trying to do. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure. Well, to wrap this up, how can people find you?
You can find me. Well, let's see. I have a few places. So on social media, on Instagram, I'm at Traveling Jackie. And you can find my blog at travelingjackie.com. And the other one is thebudgetmindedtraveler.com. That's a blog and a podcast and a community on Facebook. In fact, it's a really great place for people who do have a lot of questions. There's a whole Facebook community with like over 4,500 people that, there's constantly threads of people planning and asking and sharing, and it's really encouraging. It's a neat place cool. To share information. Yeah.
What's that Facebook group called?
It's called the Budget Minded Traveler Community.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And if you go to thebudgetmindedtraveler.com/community, it'll take you straight to it.
Okay. Cool.
So yeah, that's where you can find me, and yeah, it'd be great to see you guys there.
That would be great. Well, it sounds like and these trips that you're doing and this new one coming up at the Women's Adventure Retreat sounds amazing. I love all things retreat, all things adventure, and especially when it comes to women, because that's sort of my, the majority of my patients are women. The majority of my audience on the podcast are women. Mm-hmm. And so I love working with women on many levels, and that sounds like an awesome retreat. So I have to look into that.
Yeah. You can, that's all the trips that I do are at travelingjackie.com/trips.
Okay.
So you have a quick link for that one.
Great. Tell us if there's any courses or anything that you're offering aside from these tours and the retreat. Is there anything else going on in case someone can't actually physically go with you on these trips?
Yes, absolutely. I actually have created an online course just for this. It is essentially the best of my entire platform. And a lot of the things that we've been talking about today, it's all included in this course times 100. I basically create it for the person who's interested in getting into travel independently. So it teaches you how to, buy the plane tickets and choose the destination and get your visas and your passport and your immunizations. And it touches on safety, lots and lots of safety, especially for solo female travelers. Mm-hmm. And then, saving money and how to deal with money and how to deal with cell phones. And it is just all the things that I talk about on the Budget Minded Traveler. I've put it all into an online course, and I actually just launched it this past June. So the timing is appropriate. But I can, why don't we put together a little promo code that we can offer for your audience if they're interested in getting into that? Yeah, I'd be happy to. So that's called the Budget Minded Traveler Blueprint. And it's also accessible from my website, but we can put together some details and share here on the episode.
All right. So I'll have everything in the show notes with the promo code in case you guys are interested. That sounds amazing, though. I mean, it's all in one course, and it's online, so they can access it from anywhere. Yep. That's awesome.
Yep, and it's lifetime access, so that includes any future updates, and it's a video course, so it's not just textbooks and lectures. It's
right.
It's me. So if you resonated with me at all, then you might like it. So.
All right, that sounds awesome. Well, thank you so much, and all the info for that will be in the show notes. Well, Jackie, thank you so much for enlightening us with all of your travel tips, but also letting us be aware that it's totally doable, even though we think it may not be. And the first thing to do is to really do some research and sort of make a plan and think, okay, well, this is how much that's going to be and roughly around this. And when is the best time to go and when, because I've already got my calendar set for 2018, all the trips for 2018, just because I'm a little bit of a planner. And I like to know when I'm going to what, and if there's like a festival going on in a certain town, I want to be there, and I need to know when that's happening and to book the time off and have it in my calendar. Because if it's not in the calendar, it's never going to happen.
You're right about that, and good for you for knowing yourself, knowing that this is the kind of thing that you like to do and making time for it. Because that's no one else is going to take care of you like that. So good job.
No one at all. So it's totally up to you. And like I said, like for me, it works that I just have money that's being put aside for travel, just for travel only. So because I know I have so many trips coming up in 2018 and, and beyond, every year I'm traveling somewhere. So that's what I do. So then that's not an excuse for me anymore. Like I don't have the money. No, I do. And so it's just a matter of when and, when I'm going and if anyone's going with me or not. So,
right. Yeah. Good for you. Good for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, Jackie, thank you again. And, I wish you the best with all of these your trips and your retreats. It sounds amazing. I love what you're doing. And we'll definitely be in touch.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
Thank you so much.
Happy travels, everybody.
Yes. Thank you. I so hope you enjoyed this conversation, right? When are you planning your next trip? I'd love to know. And listen, I already have my 2018, the majority of 2018 already planned in my calendar, where, how many days, with who I'm going with. And I think that you definitely need to start this weekend. Where are you going to go? Plan it and look online and, check out all the flights and all of the tips that Jackie provided in this conversation. And I want you to be going to that place that you've always wanted to go to. Seriously. And I want to hear all about it when you get back. So to learn more about Jackie, head on over to margaretromero.com/episode 60. And to learn more about her blueprint course, which is amazing, head on over to margaretromero.com/travel. If you're not following me on Instagram, head on over to Margaret Romero and take a look at what I am cooking up in my kitchen, what I am doing on a daily basis, my sacred rituals, my practices, and also my trips that will be coming up. First one isn't until February and then another one in April. But I do have a bunch coming up also over the summer. So I hope you have the most amazing week. I just wanted to take a second here and just thank you, all of you, for being such beautiful, devoted listeners this year, 2017. I want to wish you the happiest of holidays, a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and really looking forward to 2018. Let's dream together. Let's build together. Let's create together. This is really going to be one amazing year. And I'll talk to you all next week, where I'll be having Jennifer Angel back again for some exciting planetary updates. Bye for now.